Find the derivative of g of x equals 1 over the square root of x, then evaluate g prime of 4. So g of x, which is 1 over the square root of x, can be rewritten as a fractional exponent because of x in a root. It's in the denominator, so it's 1 over. X is raised to the first power inside of the root, but then it's the square root, so x to the 1 and then over 2 for the root. The fractional exponent always has the denominator matching the root. Well, now that x is raised to an exponent, it's in the denominator, it's 1 over, so this can be rewritten as x to a negative exponent by putting in the numerator, x to the negative 1/2. And now it'll follow a power rule for the derivative. G prime of x will be bring down the power, negative 1/2, x to the negative 1/2 and then minus 1. Well, minus 1 is minus 2 over 2, so that they have a common denominator. And that'll give us negative 1/2 x raised to the negative 1 minus 2 is a negative 3 over 2. Now, since x is raised to a negative exponent here, we can move it down to the denominator, which will put it down to the 2 that's already in the denominator there. And we will have negative 1 over 2 times x to the 3/2 power. So there's our derivative. The only other thing to do is to evaluate it at a 4. So g prime of a 4. And that means to plug a 4 in for all the x's. So we'll have negative 1 over 2 times 4 to the 3/2. Four raised to the 3/2. The 3 means the cubed, and the halves means the square root. You can cube and then take the square root, or you can square it and then take the cube. It's usually easier to do the root first. The root of 4, the square root of 4, is a 2. And then you can cube it afterwards. So we have negative 1 over 2 times 2 is 4, times 1 more 2 is an 8, so 2 times an 8. 2 times 8 is 16, so we end up with negative 1 over 16.